Hey folks, it's Mike again. Like I mentioned before, this is a three-part series on the Warriors at 45 North. If you can't remember what the first two parts were, don't worry about it. Just right up here is going to be a YouTube link somewhere. I haven't. Feel free to go back and watch the first two parts. Enjoy part three, and please enjoy Warriors at 45 North part three.
The Kingston Vets Club is fantastic to us every year. They do a lobster bake, and we get their proceeds, and I go down and see them every year on uh, Veterans Day, and they have a big celebration at their club, and all veterans around are invited to go in for a meal and stuff, and I get a chance to talk to the other veterans and say a few words, and they usually give me a check, and they've been just fantastic for many years, and and that's just to mention one. We have an organization that gives grants that they have been fantastic to us.
$10,000 grant.
Huh?
$10,000 grant.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
wonderful.
And
You didn't ask for it. They came to us.
right,
Yeah.
they came to us. They saw us at the
Lancaster
fair, and it was a young couple, and talked. I say young because they're in their 30s. I would think. With
Your
late,
age.
My age.
So
yeah, late 30s.
So about 40.
Right around 40. Yeah, I'd say that.
Okay.
And because they
Yeah.
got a girl, their daughter's what, 16?
About that.
Yeah. And said that her aunt was a army nurse, and when she got retired from the army, she went to work, I think, for the VA and worked for them until she couldn't work anymore, and
She
always put her
invented
money
some
away.
kind of medical apparatus too.
Yeah.
I think somewhere
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, and never spent a dime on herself, and put a bunch of money away. And they started. They when she passed away, she wanted that money. You can't touch the principal, but you can give grants to 501c3 nonprofits to help them out, as long as you believe. And they vet us. You believe that they are in the spirit of what you believe in. So we saw them at the fair, and they said, let us check and put you in for one of our grants. I said, great. Well, you never know if somebody's just blowing smoke or what.
Yeah, we literally.
Well, they weren't.
We literally. He looked at me and I looked at him. I said, "Yeah, we'll never hear from them again."
Didn't know. But and then they called me one day and said that we were approved, and we set up a time when they came up here to see us.
That's when we were doing our Thanksgiving.
No, that was the next year.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
The first year they brought the whole family up.
Yep.
Yep. And gave us a really nice check, and we thanked them for it. And they said, you just keep doing what you're doing. We don't want it. We don't care what you do. We know you're going to spend that money well. So the next year they did it again. Came up to our Thanksgiving dinner. We're just totally impressed with that.
Yeah.
And they'll be here every year now
Every
for
year.
our Thanksgiving dinner.
Probably.
Yeah, and hi buddy. But then they increased, even though the stock market wasn't good. They increased their their grant to us, and came up, gave it to us at our Thanksgiving dinner. They came again this past Thanksgiving, and we said, we want you here every year. And they said this they were so, they don't have a lot of family around, so they were really excited to
And
be amongst.
and they were like, the guy was talked to me about it. He's like, how can you guys just invite people in and treat them like they've been part of your family all this time?
Quiet.
I said, because that's who we are.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier you don't accept money from the government.
No.
In any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
State,
grants,
state,
two
local,
times.
or federal, right?
No.
And
They,
you've had experience with people with the government trying to give you money, and
Right.
You've
Right.
politely
Twice we turned them
declined.
down, and one of them, the guy was quite upset with me, and kind of tried to get in my face and intimidate me. I'm an old nasty chief. You don't intimidate a chief. I intimidate other people. And I asked him to leave. We had another guy that came in offering us like 6 figures. And he says, but you're going to have to build 2 or 3 more of those bunkhouses. And I said, no, I won't. He said, no, that's what you'll do. I said, meeting's over. Oh, you don't want my money? No, I don't want you. We don't, the only people that tell me what to do up here are well, let me first, Mrs. Chief.
Mrs. Chief, yep.
Board of directors and my staff. That's it.
And I just make
And
suggestions.
even when I tell him to do something, he ignores me.
So now imagine for something like that to work, you've got to have a pretty good relationship with your board of directors and your staff.
Yes.
You can't
We
have.
have an excellent board of directors. There's 5 of us. And we when we have board meetings, all the staff is welcome to join.
Mhm.
They have, can speak up, talk about a meeting. It's an open meeting, but the board of directors are the ones that vote. That's the only difference between the staff and the board of directors. The board of directors vote, but usually, very seldom have we ever had dissenting votes.
Well, I mean, a lot of the votes that don't go our way to begin with, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then when we explain why,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, okay, you got my vote.
Well, we did we won it. We give a grant every year to a student from the high school. It's either Pittsburgh or Canaan high schools. We give a grant to them for somebody that's going to
Scholarship.
be in a scholarship's going to be in the service industry, military,
First
fire,
responders.
police, first responders, and plus some other civil things in the town we've done. And one of the guys on the board was discussing, well, hey, that's enough. That they've been, that's really not what some people are putting money in for. So this year, what we're going to do to cover that is what we make on the Old Home Day in Pittsburgh. That's what we use that money to give any grants to the town or something like that. We're going to do.
Because
So
they used, on the 4th of July up here, they used to do stuff down at the dam down in town, at Murphy Dam. And we would always do the cook shack. And the cook shack, everything that, because it was used to be run by the Pittsburgh Education Association. And then they gave it up because they didn't have enough people to run it. So we took it and we said, okay, you guys use that money for scholarships to graduating seniors.
Yeah.
We'll do the same thing. So the school didn't lose out on scholarship money. We just put it towards different, where they would have done it to somebody who's a teacher's kid who was in the school, or somebody who was going into education. We did it towards first responders and military.
And they don't get the money till they.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Alright.
I could go a couple more minutes.
Okay. Well, I mean, the last thing I really wanted to touch on is when people talk about what you do up here.
Good point.
What do you think is the first thing you want them to think about?
Bring guys up to relax.
What about you, Chief? What's the first thing you want them to think about?
Be around like-minded people that understand you.
Terry, what about you?
Unconditional acceptance.
Yep, that nails it.
I think that's
Excellent.
outstanding. The very last thing is, at least for the segment here, how often do the people that come up here once return? Is there
Most of our staff are people that have,
is there a high return rate for the
Yeah.
folks that have come up here
Right.
once?
we had a group of Vietnam vets last year
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
that by the end of the trip, they were all like, we want the first trip next year.
Yeah. They've already booked it.
That's
They
awesome.
booked it before they left.
Yeah.
They get the May trip.
That's awesome.
And these are a bunch of guys from Connecticut, and I'll let Gino's name. He's like the pretty much runs that. But and he stays in touch with us, lets us know. And one of the guys, I was sitting out the fire with him, and one of the guys got up. He didn't look right, and he walked back across to the bunkhouse. So I went over there, and there was actually two of them over there. But they're new guys. The only two that hadn't been here before. Everybody else had been up out of that group. And one of them looked at me and tears in his eyes, and he said, "I haven't said one word about that effing place they sent me to 50 years ago.
Oh,
I haven't
man,
said
that is-
anything about that effing place. And I'm blubbering." And then he starts laughing. And I feel great,
Oh, that's awesome.
you know?
And that's what we're about. Be around like-minded idiots.
I love it.
And
I love it.
And I'll tell one more story. Chief knows bigger part of it than me, but there was a 92-year-old submarine sailor
oh
from
my
World
God.
War II.
Submarine veteran. Yes.
Rolling.
Rolling.
He just wanted to come. His wife passed away, and he wanted to come to New Hampshire fishing again. And I guess his van broke down, or his camper broke down,
In Lunenburg, Vermont.
and the
And he
sheriff,
lived in New York.
the sheriff brought him over here, and Roland just had a blast. I mean, it was. He came back up a couple more times after
Yeah.
that, you know, and you know, that warmed my heart. That, you know,
He made everything that we do worth every. We haven't had a lot of bad times,
No.
but the bad times that we've had, he's made those bad times seem like nothing.
He wanted to go fishing in Terrell Pond, which is way the hell out
In the middle of
in the
nowhere.
middle of nowhere. So, and he came up that time and he brought his folding boat with him.
We still have his trailer.
I know. And so we go out in this folding boat that and put my trolling motor on the back of it. And we're putting around out there. Well, at one point, he casts out. He said, "I just troll. I don't cast anymore." And I said, "Well, we're dry fly fishing. You're going to cast." He says, "Well, I don't want to cast." I said, "You're going to cast anyways." He said, "You are chief, aren't you?" And I said, "Yep." So here he's casting like he hadn't missed a beat in years, right? He's got a dry fly this far off the water, and a rainbow comes out and takes it in the air. And he said, "Chief, it don't get any better than this."
Great guy. Ended up moving to Virginia.
I like you.